and welcome back to The Give and Go. I'm your co-host Reynoso with my boy
Soltero. What's up, guys?
Wales, baby.
Hey.
Wales, they are back in the World Cup, making their second appearance. 64 years, bro.
Jesus.
64 years between their last and current World Cup appearance. Let me repeat that one more time. 64 years since they last made the World Cup. 1958 was the year in which they made it all the way to the quarterfinals, by the way. So pretty impressive showing from this Welsh side.
Is that true?
They made it out of Group 3, which had Mexico in it.
Okay.
And then they lost in the quarterfinals to Brazil 1-0.
Wow.
The goal they conceded was Bale's first World Cup goal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Wales was
an honor.
Was on the receiving side of
lose.
one of the greatest footballers of all time, scoring his first World Cup goal. So that's their history. That's it. Like usually I go on for like 3 more minutes. That is it. Wales is back now. In order to get to the World Cup, they had to make it out of UEFA's qualification system, in which they got second place in Group E, which also had Belgium in it. They had a 4-3-1 record, so 4 wins, 3 ties, and only 1 loss. So a really good showing there. Path A, they were drawn into, where they had to face off against a rough and tough Austria side, which saw them win 2-1. Following that, they played a very, very emotional game against the Ukraine,
Yes.
which saw them win 1-0. So just with that, Wales found themselves back at the World Cup after such a long time and got placed into Group B with the mighty United States,
Yes, sir.
a historic English side, and a really good Iran team. Wales is going to be a team with a spotlight on in this World Cup because of the group they were placed into, but also the storyline, man. An incredible narrative to see this team return to a World Cup. You know, it means the world to their fans and to their people. And it's just setting up to be a really fun tournament because there's nothing better than seeing a team that hasn't been in the World Cup make a long-awaited return to this beautiful tournament.
And because of that narrative, the fact that it has been so long since Wales have been to a World Cup, I have Wales doing one of 3 things.
Whoa.
Follow me here.
Yeah.
I have Wales doing only one of these next 3
Okay.
things I'm going to talk about. So Wales, in 2022, they might pull off a Panama 2018, where they're just excited to be here.
Yeah.
They say, fuck it. We made it, boys. Let's just have a good time.
I wouldn't wish the Panama 2018 on my worst enemy, man. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, bro.
But that's the thing. When Panama made it in 2018, their biggest goal was just qualifying.
Yeah.
Once they qualified, Panama, the players, the coaching staff, you could just tell they're like, all right, we're not going to beat England or Belgium. So let's just enjoy our time here in Russia, and we'll get to say we went to a World Cup.
Cooler has beer in it, and shit. Players are just completely open to just having a good time, man.
Yeah, they're just having a good time. We got to play against Eden Hazard. You know,
They're fighting over who gets the autographed jersey and shit.
We got fucked by Harry Kane. Like it's an honor for Panama at that point. It sucked though because I actually really like that Panama team, and I thought they'd do a little bit better. I actually had them doing a little bit better, but
It's like that's what came and replaced the U.S., man. Like,
Yeah,
at least
yeah, I
have
was-
some self-respect, man.
You're right. I was actually really disappointed in Panama's performance in 2018. And the thing is, I could actually see the exact same thing here happening in 2022 with Wales, man. I mean, it's been so long. None of these players have ever seen a Welsh team even be competitive. They are the competitive Welsh team. Like, they've become what they've always dreamt of having, which is honestly pretty insane. So for that reason, I mean, they have no one to look up to. They have
you're right.
they have no history realistically. So just the fact that they qualified, I mean, we saw those scenes when they played against Ukraine. We saw how proud and happy and joyous that those Welsh players were, man, because it meant so much. It was beautiful. And I was crying right there with them, man. I love it. I love it when a team does something like this. So for that reason, though, you know, maybe they've already completed their objective. And I wouldn't blame them either. You know, the fact that, look, we just did the hardest thing we could do, which is take this small nation to a FIFA World Cup, and one that still only has 32 teams. That's a hell of an accomplishment. And, you know, maybe they just say, let's just play our best and whatever happens, happens. And maybe even leading in a 4th place finish. I mean, the thing is, it's not that far-fetched because when you look at Wales' recent record, it has been horrible. It has been really, really bad. I think their last recent win was just against Ukraine. That was it, man. Yeah. Other than that, it's just been loss after loss after loss. They can't find form right now. And going into a World Cup that's only a month away, can they find that form? I don't know. So maybe for Wales, they've already completed their objective. Second thing that might happen. Second thing that might happen is they might pull off a 2018 Iceland. So Iceland, prior to 2018, had an incredible Euros. And it only made sense that they went on to qualify for their first FIFA World Cup. But the thing is, Iceland were high on themselves. And they were a good team, bro. Going into 2018, Iceland were a very competitive team. And they had shown that, again, in the Euros in 2016. They had shown that they can play against pretty much anybody and keep it tight. And at least compete and try to win. And the thing is, we've seen Wales do that. We've seen Wales when they had that incredible 2016 run. We've seen Wales pretty much go up against anybody and take it to them and play high quality football. And it kind of in a similar vein, I thought Iceland were on a slight decline going into 2018. I thought they peaked in 2016. I can kind of see the same thing here for Wales, man. I mean, maybe they're slightly on the decline. The team that got them to the World Cup has peaked. And now they're just slightly declining from a performance perspective. Yeah. And that is seen with their most recent results. They still have really good quality with players, obviously, like Gareth Bale. Maybe Joe Allen, you could say, is on that list. Ben Davies, obviously, at the back. So there still is quality, but can they really compete? I think the thing is they definitely can. Iceland, honestly, if they just were a little bit better, I think they actually would have gotten out of their group. I think Wales can see themselves in this group just thinking that, oh, look, this group is kind of wide open. They look at the U.S., they look at Iran, and they're like, okay, this is manageable, maybe. Yeah. At least from the perspective of we have quality on our own side, maybe we can beat these teams. Yeah, we have
enough to do it if we want to.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So similar to Iceland in the sense that they had enough to at least be competitive. I think Wales have enough to be very competitive in this group. The third thing that I see happening is that they actually pull off a Wales 2016. They do it themselves, bro. And they just do something fucking crazy. Go to the round of 16, somehow actually get out of this group. And from that point on, man, it's just emotion, especially for a team like Wales, where this might be the only World Cup for a while. And it's been the only World Cup for a while for this Welsh team, bro. So they might just take that emotion and just do something crazy. Actually, kind of similar to Russia in 2018. I mean, Russia were good, but it was that support, it was that emotion that I honestly think got Russia a lot farther than they probably should have gone. Wales can actually use something like that too. They did in 2016. There was no reason why Wales performed as good as they did in 2016. Yes, they still had good quality in players like Gareth Bale, but the rest of the team just played the best tournament of their lives. And that's why they went so far in that tournament. The thing is, this team is arguably even more talented. So who's to say that they just can't find that same spirit, find that same energy, and just do something crazy? They've done it before. Actually, in recent memory, 6 years ago, I could actually see Wales somehow surprising in this group. Low key. They will do one of those three things, nothing else.
Let's look at the defense. They have Wayne Hennessy at the back, who played a remarkable game, man. Yes. A remarkable game, even earning the merit of player of the match in that game against Ukraine because he was so good being a leader and actually coming in as a last-minute replacement, I believe, for Danny Ward at the time, I think is what happened. But playing really well for the team. And there's a little bit of a discussion here of who gets to start at goalkeeper for Wales. Will it be Danny Ward from Leicester, who is currently on a dismal form, or Wayne Hennessy, who's way older, 35 years of age compared to Danny Ward's 29, but has shown that he has the veteran experience, and when needed, he can come up big.
Yeah, I think that performance against Ukraine, that sole performance, has done enough to convince Coach Page that Hennessy, you're getting the starting job at this World Cup. I don't care about form. That big moment when Wales needed you, Hennessy showed up. And so for that reason, I think Hennessy will start, and I just don't see Ward starting over Hennessy solely because of that crazy performance against Ukraine.
Yeah. This backline is really interesting, man, because you have some names that are actually at really notable clubs, man. Ben Davies, Tottenham's very own, has shown that he can go up against anybody, man. He can defend against anybody. Yes, he might not be in that elite category, but he's definitely in the reliable category, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's so good, man. He looks over to his left and he has one of the feistiest players in world football, and Nico Williams in that fullback position. Kid is not afraid to fight, dive and fight for every single ball, go up forward as well if needed, if he needs to be a part of that attack. He's a coach's player, man. He just plays his fucking heart out every single game. Agreed. And you love to see it in a player like him. He's part of the reason for why Wales was able to make this incredible run, is because he almost injects the team with so much emotional support that it's contagious, man. So I personally really enjoy Nico Williams. Another center back that will probably start is Rodon, who plays at Rennes in League One right now. He's been one of Page's favorite go-to guys.
Yeah, I know he has.
It's mainly him and Davies that tend to start for them. And he started in that Ukraine match. And so they got a clean sheet in that match, and he's shown that he is capable of being that solid, reliable center back. And then looking over to his right, he'll probably go with Ampadu. The backline, in my opinion, is kind of selected for itself, man. He seems to go with the same four guys at the end of the day. Or if he switches up the formation to 3-5-2, he'll do Davies, Rodon, and Ampadu, and then Nico Williams will play more as a wingback. But regardless of that, it always feels like it's a mix of these four players that are in that backline to start.
We've said it before on this podcast with other teams. I think a good example is Koulibaly with Senegal. I think how successful this Welsh team does, I don't think is going to be dictated by their offense. Even though they show they're not prolific in front of goal, which is a worry, that isn't my worry. My true concern is going to be how solid is this backline really? If Ben Davies can command and lead this backline to just trying to concede only one goal, then I think Wales will have a really, really good chance of being very competitive within this group. But I think it's going to be up to Davies to decide that. I really do. If he commands this team, sets them up well, gives them that inspiration, gives them that confidence of, look to me and I'm going to be your center back and I'm going to defend my ass off for you guys, then I think Wales can actually be very successful. But for me, it starts in that center back position for Wales. Again, we talked about how impactful Hennessy was in that Ukraine game. I'm going to say the exact same thing about Ben Davies, dude. Giving his life out in that box when Ukraine just had a half shot. He just threw his body in front of the ball. And for me, that was a big reason why Wales were able to come out on top in that Ukraine game, was because of how basically last-ditch defending Ben Davies did, man. He gave his literal body on the line for Wales in that game. He's going to have to do that in every single game. I know.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate thing, though, is that I think this Welsh defense isn't the best from a technical point of view. But if Ben Davies plays his absolute best, he will keep Wales in any game.
A shot. It really does.
He really does.
That's the impact that he can have, man.
Exactly. So I think a lot rides on Ben Davies, but in a way, for me, it's a good thing. I think if Ben Davies has that pressure on him, and we've seen players really rise to that World Cup occasion, if Ben Davies can do that, this Welsh team could do something.
Yeah, man, this is... You make a great point. This is a very emotional team, man. Like, emotion is going to have a big impact on how this team performs, man.
Yeah.
If Ben Davies is being that big, emotional, vocal leader back there, everyone else is going to take to that, man.
Yes.
And Wales especially, they almost have like a power-up. Like, when they get excited, when they get riled up, most teams go up another level. They go up 2-3 levels, and their overall game is influenced greatly by just the emotions across the pitch. So You're completely right, man. Ben Davies is going to have a hell of a role in this team.
And on the inverse, though, and this is what sucks, is that if Ben Davies doesn't do that, Wales will concede 2 to 3 goals a game, bro. Their defense just isn't that sound. So again, it's two extremes for me. It's two extremes. Prime Ben Davies, Wales is in any game, even against England, against the United States. Whoever it is, Wales will keep it tight. But if Ben Davies just is a little off, man, it doesn't use that emotion to kind of rile up the rest of his team.
Sad Ben Davies.
Then this Welsh team is going to concede a lot of goals, man.
Moving up in the midfield, we have some notable names as well with You mentioned Joe Allen, currently injured right now, but hopefully he's projected to come back in November. Hopefully it'll be early enough in time because he's kind of a really big, important part for this team, man. Bro. He basically starts every time that he's healthy. You have Roberts, who actually has gotten Robert Page's reliance and confidence a lot, starting almost every game as well. Aaron Ramsey, potentially, although he's not in the best form, not really getting as much playing time at Nice, and kind of on that downhill slope of his career. Does he get the call-up, or does he even get the starting nod here?
Yeah.
Worth mentioning his name, though.
Absolutely.
Harry Wilson, the once Liverpool product, now a Fulham player, who slowed down a little bit, had a really good rise for a while, but once they got to the Prem, he slowed down in production and output, hasn't gotten a single goal or assist, nor has he played as many games. I think he has maybe 2 appearances to his name in the Premier League. So he as well will have a role on this team, but it's just a matter of how much trust does Page have in him.
Yeah, looking at this Welsh team front to back, it's clear that their midfield is their weakest link by far. If you take out Aaron Ramsey, who isn't even a surefire starter in this Welsh team anymore, if you take out Ramsey, there's not a single other midfielder that plays top division football. Even Joe Allen plays in the second division. Yeah. And not that that's a really bad thing, because the championship is still a very good and competitive league, but you would rather have a guy who is playing in the Premier League or who is playing in Serie A or Bundesliga, doesn't matter, who is at least playing top flight football. But if you take Ramsey out, you don't have that. I think technically you have one player playing in the Scottish League for Dundee. And so for me, this Welsh midfield completely comes down to Joe Allen. It really does. The Welsh Pirlo. A silky midfielder, incredible quality on the ball, really, like genuinely very good midfielder. And although, like I said, yes, he does play for Swansea in the second division of English football, he's still probably their best midfielder, and it's by far too. I know that Page likes to pair him up with Colwill, Levitt, Morrill. He tries a lot of different guys, especially since Ramsey's kind of been out of the picture recently. Obviously, Ramsey not getting any playing time at Juve in Italy. And right now with Nice, he comes off the bench, I think. So he gets some playing time. It's not the most promising thing, though, if you need another guy to permanently pair up with Joe Allen. And so, yeah, a lot is riding on Allen to come back fully healthy, man, because for me, if Allen doesn't play or if he's slightly injured, I just don't see Wales being successful. I really don't. He's that important to just ball movement and ball retention for this Welsh team that if you don't have Joe Allen, I don't think any other midfielder can actually do his job even close.
Dude, I think a running pattern that we're starting to see is that every sector of this Welsh team is going to be defined by one player, right? Even back to the goalkeeping spot. Hennessy, he needs to have the tournament of his life.
He has to.
Ben Davies has to have an emotional tournament and a leadership-based tournament to have success back there. Midfield's fully reliant on Joe Allen.
Fully.
If only they had 18-year-old Aaron Ramsey by his side. Yeah. And it's like, I wonder if Joe looks over at Aaron in the locker room is just like,
what happened to you?
It's somewhere in there, man. Let's get it out of you. And it gets all evil and shit. Starts like burning his fingers and shit. Like, let's get him out of you. Where is he? Where's that old Aaron? He's got nothing, man. He's got nothing to work with. He's just going to have to provide the best solidity he can in that midfield position and hopefully be able to provide the forwards with anything to work with.
I was thinking the same thing, man. Like, even a out of form Aaron Ramsey, who's 5 years younger, would be a lot more helpful than the Aaron Ramsey Wales currently have. Like, it's that much of a difference, and it sucks that really all they do have from a quality standpoint is Joe Allen.
And following along with that same theme, there's one clear emotional and skillful leader up front.
Yeah.
Gareth Bale.
Gareth
Bale. Real Madrid's legend, in my opinion, with how, dude, it's crazy. You might not think it based off of stats or maybe how much he dealt with injuries, but Gareth Bale's a winner, man. Yeah. It's crazy. He just found ways to win games. You could say the opposite of Higuain. He showed up only in big games. He has a career of just getting big results, scoring big goals, a bicycle kick against Liverpool to win the Champions League, and you can just keep going down the list. Incredible goals against Barcelona in Copa del Rey finals, an incredible player with an incredible career. He represents Wales in this tournament, and You saw it throughout the whole qualification system, just how much it means to him to lead the team and be the best player and their go-to guy when it comes to crunch time, when it comes to getting that goal, and when it comes to eventually pulling out a result. Gareth Bale stepped up every single time he was called upon. And that's special, man. I get so hyped thinking about what's that going to look like on the World Cup stage. Even if they don't make it out of the group, to just get like maybe a 1-0 win against the USA or maybe against Iran. That game in which Gareth Bale steps up and has that moment, it's going to be an incredible thing to see. Might be the highlight of the tournament for Wales.
It gets to the point where Bale's probably only playing football right now for Wales. Club football. It means that much to him. And as you just said, you can easily see it every time he puts on that Welsh jersey. But yes, I'm going to completely echo what you just said. My biggest takeaway from Gareth Bale in these last 2-3 years playing for Wales has been how clutch he has been in the biggest moments for Wales. Because no matter his club form, no matter all of the negative narratives that have been about Bale when he was out the end of his time with Real Madrid, no matter what, when he plays for Wales, Bale's a different player, man. Yeah. He comes back. He's that winner that you talked about. He's that elite forward that we all know that he has been. And yes, physically and athletically, he is definitely past his prime. We're not going to say he's going to just go at players for 90 minutes because he's not that type of player anymore.
He'll be hoping for a free kick.
Exactly. No, exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing, bro. If Bale is 25 yards out with a free kick against the U.S., I'm going to start saying a prayer, man. Because big time clutch Gareth Bale, man,
yes,
anything can happen. And even so much so, we're just open play. Bale gets like a chance, one touch on the outside of the box. Bale can put that in, bro. He absolutely can. So Bale still has it. Again, not from the Madrid days that we once saw him. Yeah. He has it in a completely different way. Actually, interesting that we even talked about this in the first place, but it is emotional, I think, for Bale. Like, even just playing for Wales, it's pure emotion, and it really works in his favor, honestly, because it puts Bale back into that winning mentality when he was back at Real Madrid, something that he can't really repeat anymore, especially playing in the MLS, and it's something that he probably will never be able to repeat at his age. So this is it for Bale, and I think he knows that, but I actually think it only helps him and the rest of Wales. I think it's just going to excel himself and hopefully the rest of Wales to perform a little bit better than they have been. It's crazy because I remember there was a time, even in 2016 when they did make the Euros, I was like, Bale's never going to go to the World Cup. And that one really hurt me at the time too, because I mean that was a time when Bale was scoring bicycle kicks in the Champions League, man. Mm-hmm. That was a time when Bale was one of the best wingers in all of world football. And when I said that, I was like, that's a possibility. It's a realistic possibility that Wales just won't have the team to support Bale to get to a World Cup. So the fact that they actually here, they pulled it off. Yeah. The fact that they actually pulled it off is just honestly pretty crazy, dude.
Yeah, and when you think about it, when you think about Wales and what they ultimately need the most, it is a winner like that, man. Yeah. It is an experienced player like that, a guy that's been at it at all levels of club football. Because, you know, a team like Panama didn't have that, you know? You bring them up, you don't have that person to look to in those moments or that hope that maybe someone can step up. But Bale has seen it all, man. Yeah. He's seen it absolutely all, and even more so with being in the MLS now and being in the playoffs. He's still flexing that clutch gene.
Oh, absolutely.
So we'll see how it goes going into the playoffs and see if he makes it to a final there.
That'd be crazy.
That'd be crazy, man.
Shit.
It'd be crazy. He'd be having a hell of a year.
Oh my God.
But regardless, the big question for Wales up front will be who joins him, man. Yeah. If it's a system in which 3 forwards up front, I think Bale's on the right. Moore from Bournemouth will be in the middle, and then Daniel James will be on the left. But if it's solely 2 players up front, I think it's Bale and Leeds United, Daniel James.
Yeah, I think the coach will find a way to start Bale and James, whether it's dropping James maybe a little bit deeper into a wide midfield position, or maybe not playing Wilson. I could actually see that happening because at the end of the day, James is probably more effective out wide, whether that's in a wide midfield position or in a wide winger position. I think Page will find a way to start James. Obviously, we'll have Bale on the opposite side. But yes, I think when it comes to that true striking position, it's either going to be Kiefer Moore or Brennan Johnson. Johnson playing for Nottingham Forest. The thing is, output-wise, they're both kind of the same. Yeah. They don't really give much for this Welsh team as far as like goals scored or assists created. They just really don't. I think it's just going to be completely down to preference. I think Moore has more experience with this Welsh team. A really good hold-up player, good in build-up, not the best finisher, I'll be completely honest. He can get big in the box, but he's also, again, just not the best header of the ball. You'd like him to be a little bit better, especially he's going to be your pinpoint man in that box. And I could kind of say the same thing about Brennan Johnson, not from a hold-up play perspective. I think he's a little bit more technically gifted than Kiefer Moore. But that said, he doesn't really score that much more goals than Moore either. And he doesn't really create that much either. So depending on what type of player Page wants to go with, I think he'll get the same output with either Moore or Johnson. He'll probably go with Moore just because of the experience perspective.
Yeah, for sure, though, Daniel James, I think, gets the start because every time that he plays for Wales, he plays with a contagious energy, kind of like Nico Williams, honestly. They look like they could be brothers, man, when in the way that they look, but also in the way that they play. Yeah. Daniel James is so offensive, and he's constantly threatening. Sometimes I have questioned his decision-making or his finishing ability, but for me, it's just the fact that he's able to put himself in such good positions almost once or twice every game. There's almost always an opportunity for Daniel James that's generated. And so for that sole reason, I think he's earned that position, or at least that starting nod, to be able to be paired up alongside Bale to hopefully create some sort of cohesive attack. If they get that chance with the quality that both these players have, there is that opportunity for them to take advantage and pounce upon a team, whether it's the USA, Iran, or England, man.
Looking at this Welsh team from a step back, and I look at this entire 11, dude. This Wales team is the epitome of why this World Cup is just going to be absolutely insane from a talent perspective, dude. Even though Wales definitely lack in a lot of positions, at least from a club level stance, in the positions where they don't lack, it's just star power, bro. Again, Gareth Bale, Ben Davies, I think are absolute class. I really do. And that's crazy. The fact that a team like Wales, who in my opinion is incomplete and definitely lacks in certain positions, specifically the midfield, the fact that they even have players like Davies or Bale in their starting 11 is ridiculous. It is ridiculous, so much so that, dude, this World Cup's going to be just talent ridden. There is class in almost every single team, even if they are missing a lot of pieces. And we could say the same thing about Poland, man. Poland, an incomplete team, but they still have Zielinski and Lewandowski. So just from that perspective, dude, this World Cup is going to be ridiculous. Because if I'm being honest, I'll probably go ahead and say Wales are probably the weakest European team here. Not just from a talent perspective, but also just their run of form, man. It's not looking good. But when you look at the quality that they potentially can unlock, it's impressive. It's like, holy shit. Like, they could still be competitive in a feisty group, bro. And that, to me, just means pure excitement, pure entertainment that we are going to receive watching this World Cup.
I'm not going to say this with complete assurance, but, bro, Holland has to be maybe the best player to ever miss a World Cup.
Right.
Like, if you look at the stars that have missed in 2018 and 2014, do they compare to Holland? I wonder. I really do wonder. I'm not saying that that's true, but I am throwing up the question of just like, is Holland the best talent to miss out on a World Cup in like the past 20 years?
There's no way there has ever been a player that has scored as many goals as Holland or has at least been as on fire as Holland going into a World Cup.
I think the form,
the form is ridiculous.
Maybe the name, like Pirlo when Italy missed out.
The name, sure.
That could definitely be a good argument, but in terms of like the quality of the player right now, I think it's one of the, but then you also throw in like Luis Diaz not going to the World Cup. An incredible player just missing out completely.
Right.
It really is such a testament to the quality of the players in this tournament.
I was, again, watching these Nations League recently in June. I was like, dude, Hungary are like a year off. If the World Cup was in 2023, Hungary would be a part of it. They're in insane form right now. And a perfect example is why the World Cup probably should be expanded, because form goes in and out for a lot of teams. And if Hungary were at this 2022 World Cup, they could have done something, man. They genuinely could have, especially since it's just a 3-game group stage or whatever it will end up being. It's a really short time frame, man. So absolutely, there are a lot of reasons as to why the World Cup probably should be expanded.
To get back to the point of Wales, They do have quality, man. They have quality.
They do.
To even name them as the worst European side is pretty crazy when you look at what they have on paper.
Yeah,
because it's still really, really good. This could be a top team in CONCACAF probably. So it's still so interesting comparing them. All in all, though, when we look at this Welsh team in this World Cup, man, I just think they're going to be one of the more interesting teams to watch because of the group they're in and the narrative they have behind them. I mentioned that at the beginning. Yeah. It's just crazy. I can't wait for that first Wales match to see how they do, because their first game is going to dictate their fucking run, man. I think they're one of those teams that, because they're so emotional, because they are so reliant on the form of players and who shows up, how that first game goes for them is going to determine how the rest of the tournament is going to look for them. And so I'm going to be terrified, but also super, super excited. Projection time, though. Where do you have them going? Do you have them making it out of the group? Are they staying put in third or fourth place? Or are we going to see an incredible 2016 Wales-like run?
Yeah. I think two things really stand out to me for Wales having a successful group stage. One is that narrative, and you can couple that with that emotion that we've been talking about. If they use that just right, I think Wales can be successful. I think a second reason why you could see this Welsh team being successful is simply the fact that British football has the potential of greatness, man, just in general. Even though a lot of these players play in the second tier of the English pyramid, or maybe they play in Scotland or actually in Wales with Cardiff or Swansea, man, there's potential for greatness here. It's just such a competitive footballing atmosphere, that country, bro. And so it can lead to something really, really special here. The quality is so high in the UK, man, we might see that quality. Wales themselves, especially when you compare them to their neighbors in England, they have a chip on their shoulder, but it's for a reason, man. English players have always been touted as the superior British player, but Wales finally will have an opportunity to undo that.
And to get the face off against
the thing.
Them. That's crazy.
Not only just because of the narrative that they're at the World Cup, but because they're in the same goddamn group.
Man.
That's going to be insane.
This group is ridiculously political, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. The only problem for me is Wales' form, man. And when I look at everybody else's form, I get a little scared. I know England are a little off it, but England will find themselves in this World Cup. There's just too much quality. The USA, we'll get to that when we talk about the USA, but very briefly right here, I think the USA is a complete X-Factor team. Wild card. Anything could happen with the USA, and at the very least, they're on par with Wales. So that means it will not be an easy game. And then when I look at Iran, bro, I think a couple months ago, I probably had Wales being clearly better than Iran. I don't know about that anymore, man. I don't know. Looking at how good Iran have been, how consistent they've been, especially in the Asian region, and the fact that they just beat Uruguay, who I consider Uruguay to be better than Wales, I think Iran's going to have a hell of a say in this group and make it that much tougher for Wales. So all in all, I don't have Wales getting out of this group. I don't. If anything, I actually might have them finishing in fourth.
Damn.
I think this is a surprisingly competitive group. It is open, but I think that's why Wales might finish in fourth, because it's just incredibly competitive.
Is it a 2018 Panama type of fourth place finish, or is it just a more sturdy fourth place finish?
Yeah, it's gonna be a respectable fourth place finish, kind of like Iceland. Again, Iceland were competitive, I thought, in 2018. They were never the best team on the pitch, never in all of the 3 games that they played, but they were competitive. They gave it their all. They were just a little off it ultimately over the course of 90 minutes in each of their games. I see Wales having a similar fate. They will be competitive. They're going to make it entertaining. And hell, they'll even have their chances. But I think they won't take them ultimately. And so I just see them finishing last in this group, because I think Iran and the USA are actually, I think, impressing me.
What a group, man. What a group. The run of form is frustrating, bro.
Imagine if they had won their last 4 games in a row. I'd be saying something completely different.
I bet Paige is just slapping up players in the locker room. Backhand. Come on, boys. Boys, come on. So frustrating. I look at this team, and as I mentioned, I'm excited for them. I really am. This is one of the most entertaining groups that is going to be at the World Cup. So I thank Wales for their appearance here, man. There's no other team I would want in this group. I'm truly excited to have them here. My projection for this team is ultimately a group stage exit. I don't think I have them as low as you do. I think Wales finishes in third.
Okay.
Wales finishes in third. They'll have a game where they have a chance. There'll be a game. Maybe it's that second or third game where they have to pull out a result. And I think they're just going to fall a little bit short. And it might even be against a surprising team like Iran. Yeah. Who knows? But the teams in this group, it's almost unfortunate they got drawn into here because it's so many X factors and so much quality all around that it's a little too tough for me to convince myself that Wales makes it out. Best case scenario is that they do, and that they then go on like a 2016 Euro run where just anything can happen from that point on. That's the best case scenario. Go ahead.
Yeah, and kind of to piggyback off of that, I agree, because I do think Wales will have their chances to actually turn a game into their favor. But like you, I think they will fall short. But the thing is, if they find themselves in those chances and actually fulfill them, then that means Wales is on a magical run.
Yeah.
That's what it'll mean.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I agree. If they actually do pull it off, then at that point, I think Wales could do anything in the knockout stage because it's just going to be pure emotion, pure entertainment, pure excitement. Anything goes.
I think in the World Cup, there's 3 different categories. There's the elite title contender category. There's the dark horse category, and then there's the Cinderella run category. And very few teams finally fall into that Cinderella category, and I think Wales is a team that falls perfectly there because they're not good enough to be dark horses.
No.
But they are good enough to be a surprise team that could potentially put in a dark horse-like performance. So I'm hoping that we see that for this Welsh team, and I'm just excited, man. I'm excited to see this team in this group play. And that is Wales, folks. Let us know. Does Wales make it out of this group? Do they finish in third? Do they finish in fourth? How's that Wales versus England matchup going to look, man? Because that one's shaping up to be a banger. Regardless, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and keep in touch with us as we continue posting more World Cup deep dives. We're going to cover every single team in this World Cup leading to the tournament. And so we're going to keep at it, man. Shout out to any Welsh fans or viewers that we have out there.
Yes, sir.
And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.